After 36 hours of excruciating labor, the exhausted new mom was finally holding her precious baby girls in her arms. However, the doctor's apologies had left her feeling uneasy. The doctor's scream could probably be heard at least 5 rooms over. It was blood-curdling. The doctor had expected a difficult twin birth, but this was something he could have never prepared for, and he knew he needed help. Matthew and Jessica started to panic. They were shocked that the doctor started screaming for help. Finally, the doctor returned to the room, sweat dripping down his forehead, but he had found the help he was looking for. Now they just had to get to work quickly. When Jessica and Matthew first found out they were pregnant, it felt like a complete shock to them. Jessica quickly went to the hospital for an ultrasound and discovered she was pregnant with twins. They were not planning on having one baby initially, and now they're having 2. Jessica and Matthew were not even in a relationship together, yet they knew each other from their university studies and got along quite well. Since neither of them expected that there would ever be more to it than friendship, after a night out, they started sleeping together until Jessica woke up one morning feeling extremely nauseous. She started to panic and decided to rush to the pharmacist and picked up several pregnancy tests. After taking the first test, she was shocked. The test showed that she was pregnant. She needed to speak to Matthew immediately. He was actually extremely supportive. She told him that she couldn't bring herself to have an abortion, and he totally understood. He told her he wanted to be there for her and the baby. Not much later, the couple learned that they could expect not 1 but 2 babies. This means that the pregnancy is a lot more complex, and therefore, Matthew has to be a lot more involved. After some debating, Matthew asked her to move in with him. He had a decent-sized place for himself and worked mostly from home. Deep down, Matthew knew he wasn't in love with Jessica. Besides that, he recently spoke with a friend about the fact that he was not ready for a relationship yet. He decided to put his feelings aside and approach the situation with an open mindset. Perhaps living together for a while and the pregnancy process would change his mind. Matthew is taking good care of Jessica in any way he can. He makes sure she gets enough rest and cooks dinner for her every day, while Jessica is starting to fall in love with him more and more every day. Matthew just feels himself grow more distant from her. That's how they continued up until about a month before Jessica's due date. She could hardly walk because of her big belly filled with twins. At that moment, her health really started to take a turn for the worst, and she had to spend the rest of the time until her due date in the hospital. Matthew tried to be at the hospital as much as possible, but also relived how it felt like to have the house to himself again. Thinking about how it would be to have Jessica and 2 babies with him here at all times gave him a chill across his spine. How was he going to tell her that he actually wanted her to move back in with her parents after the delivery because of the condition she was in right now? Matthew knew he could not tell her this right away. He probably should have done it sooner. After some days at the hospital, Jessica's situation got stabilized, even though she was still very weak. Her condition at the time was something to be grateful for. While Matthew was relieved from stress as Jessica's situation stabilized, he was still full of care. Countless thoughts were flying through his mind as he went to the hospital. As he got closer to her room at the hospital, he realized nurses were sprinting past him into Jessica's room. While he was beginning to think about what could be wrong, he heard her scream at the top of her lungs. As he confirmed what was happening, he rushed into the room and knelt next to Jessica, who was in pain. As she saw him, her face lit up a little, but it only made him feel worse. Instead of being gladdened about it, he was sad because he couldn't get to tell her the news he came to the hospital to share. Not quite long after, the first baby came out, but there was no time for her to relax or appreciate the baby boy as the other twin was yet to come out. The attention of nearly everyone in the room was diverted when one of the doctors took a closer look at the first twin, and his eyes went wide. The doctor, who caught every other person's attention by action, whispered something to the doctor leading the delivery. Immediately after, then he rushed out of the room with the baby. Both Matthew and Jessica became extremely worried, but they couldn't go overboard with their thinking as they had the unborn baby to focus on. As Jessica was battling to deliver the second baby, the doctor that had left the room earlier was busy running tests on the first of the twin babies. As he was performing the test, a part of him was sure that his suspicions about the baby were going to be as presumed. After some while of labor, the second baby was finally delivered. Matthew and Jessica felt a bit relieved from the stress they had been feeling at this happening. The moment they remembered the first baby, they got scared of what the doctor would say about him. The doctor returned inside and began muttering words with his face looked down. He began his words by informing them there was nothing wrong with the baby's health. The doctor explained that he wasn't concerned about the baby's health but something else he noticed, his concern about the baby. When he looked into his eyes, the pair immediately feared that their baby was blind or something related to that. The doctor quickly erased the thought from their minds by mentioning that what he noticed had to do with the baby's eye color. He mentioned that the baby had beautiful brown eyes, which made him look so cute. But the point of concern was that Matthew and Jessica both had blue eyes, so it was almost impossible for the baby to have brown eyes. While they were thinking about what the doctor said, the medical practitioner continued explaining. He said the best thing to uncover the mystery behind the baby's brown eyes was to run some quick DNA tests. After matching the baby's DNA against that of Matthew, it was revealed that Matthew wasn't the baby's father. The result of the DNA test shocked Matthew to his bones. Surprisingly, Jessica seemed not to be as astonished as expected. She wasn't very surprised because she had always known what happened was possible. Since the truth was out in the open, she had no choice but to spill out the remaining unknown happenings. Jessica confessed to seeing somebody else all the time she and Matthew were sleeping together. Jessica said she had dumped the other guy out of her life when she found out she was pregnant. After giving much thought to what had happened, Matthew told Jessica the truth about not wanting to be with her, but he mentioned that he would still like to be there for her and the twins, even if they were not his. Jessica was grateful to Matthew for his kindness towards her. While getting used to motherhood, she, by the side, involved in a legal battle to see the father of the twins pay them alimony. At the same time, she couldn't help but be thankful for what was most important to her, the twins' health, which was in a good state.